Think about the last time you walked into a high stake job interview or logged onto a crucial final round Zoom screen. Let's be brutally honest about what was happening to your body and your mind in that exact moment. Your palms were like sweating, your heart rate was elevated, your cortisol levels were spiking. You spent the last 48 hours frantically memorizing company's trivia, rehearsing canned answers to generic behavioral questions, and agonizing over whether your tie, your blazer, or your digital background look professional enough. You walked into that room hoping, praying that they would like you. You walked in hoping that they would look at your resume, pick you out of the lineup of dozen other qualified candidates, and graciously grant you the privilege of a monthly paycheck. I need you to listen to me very carefully because this is a fundamental truth of the modern job market. If you enter an interview with that mindset, you have already lost the negotiation before you have even opened your mouth. You are projecting the energy of a subordinate. You are radiating the quiet, undeniable desperation of an applicant. And in the hyper competitive, high stake 2026 corporate market, elite decision makers do not hire subordinate who begs for a seat at a table. They hire authorities. They hire high leverage problem solver who walks into a room and instantly neutralizes the anxiety of the hiring manager. Today, we are going to fundamentally destroy the traditional interview power dynamics. I'm going to teach you how to strip away the nerves and attend any interview, whether it is for a mid-level management role or a C-suite executive position, with unshakable dignity and quiet authority. I'll show you the exact psychological frameworks to turn an interrogation into a high-level consultation, how to leave an indelible mark on their mind long after you have left the room, and the precise, dignified follow-up sequences that forces respect rather than desperation. Grab your notebook. It is time to stop acting like a candidate and start operating as a career architect. Welcome back. I am Dr. HR. For those of you who are new to this channel or who are wondering why my approach to recruitment is so radically different from the traditional advice you read online, let me give you the exact context. I do not just talk about corporate theory, I engineer it. My foundation is actually a bachelor's in computer engineering. That means I do not look at careers as an emotional journey. I look at them as systems, algorithms, and structured frameworks. I paired that engineering mindset with a master's in human resource from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai, and eventually went on to earn my PhD in HR. I have been on the ground here in Dubai since 2010, navigating one of the most volatile, transient, and hyper-competitive corporate environment in the world. Over the last decade and a half, I have worked with over 20 different companies across the region as both a full-time employee and a high-level consultant. I have sat on both sides of the interview table thousands of times. I know exactly what elite decision makers are desperate for, and I know exactly how traditional candidates structurally sabotage themselves within the first 5 minutes of a conversation. The traditional hiring process is designed to make you feel small. You are brought into a room, sat across a wide mahogany table, and asked to justify your existence to 3 people who hold the key to your financial future. It's a massive structural imbalance of power. But a career architect understands that power is entirely perpetual. The company called you into that room for one singular reason. They have a massive, expensive problem and they are bleeding capital, time, or efficiency because of it. They are scared. Making a bad hire costs them hundreds of thousands of dirhams. They need you to de-risk their lives just as desperately as you need them for a salary. When you internalize that truth, your entire presence shifts. Here is a comprehensive 6-phase blueprint to commanding the interview room. Phase 1, the psychological anchor, the peer to the peer shift. Authority does not mean arrogance. Arrogance is loud. Authority is quiet. Arrogance is interrupting the interviewer to prove how smart you are or name-dropping executive to artificial inflate your worth. Authority is being so deeply secure in your skill DNA that you do not feel the need to rush your words, or over explain your value. Before you step into the building or click the meeting link, you must execute what I call the two peer shift. You must repeat this exact phrase to yourself. I'm not here to ask for a job. I'm here to evaluate if this organization, infrastructure, leadership, and vision are worthy of my human capital. When you adopt this mindset, your psychology naturally recalibrates. You stop fidgeting. You maintain sustained, comfortable eye contact. And most importantly, you embrace silence. When an interviewer asks a difficult, complex question, desperate candidates panics. They immediately start rambling, throwing buzzwords at the wall to fill the dead air, terrified that silence makes them look incompetent. And authority does the opposite. And authority pauses for 3 full seconds. They process the complexity of the question, they structure their thoughts, and they deliver a surgical, precise answer. Remember, you are evaluating them, you are looking for red flags in their management style. You are probing the stability of their division when they sense that you are analyzing them, when they realize you are not blindly desperate to say yes to whatever they offer, the power dynamics instantly neutralizes. They subconsciously realize they have to win you over. Phase 2. The first 3 minutes. Architecturing the impression. Human beings are biologically hardwired to make definitive judgments. Within the first 7 seconds of a visual encounter in a corporate interview, the first 3 minutes dictates the entire trajectory of your hour-long conversation. The moment they sit down, they are going to ask the inevitable, lazy opening questions. So, tell me about yourself. You have your first and the best opportunity to establish absolute dominance. And 99% of candidates fails this instantaneous. They fail into the chronological trap. They recite their resume out loud. Well, I graduated in 2016, then I worked at the company A and as an analyst for 2 years, then I got promoted, moved to a company B. Stop doing this. It is agonizing, boring. They have your CV right in front of them. They know your history. You must deliver the value proposition matrix. This is 90-second, high impact narrative that frames your entire career, not as a random series of jobs, but as a deliberate trajectory aimed directly at solving their current corporate problem. Break it down into 3 architectural pillars. 1. The core identity. Do not give your job title, give your function. At my core, I'm a system architect specializing in scaling supply chain operations in highly volatile emerging market. 2. The proof of capability. Give them a data-driven anchor. Over the last 5 years, my singular focus has been on designing frameworks that eliminate operational friction. Most recently, at my last firm, I engineered an automated compliance protocol that recovered 18% in lost quarterly revenue and reduced cross-border delays by 14 days. 3. The strategic pivot. Why you are here. Turn the focus immediately back onto them. I am here today because I have been analyzing your division's upcoming expansion into Saudi market. I know that scaling at that aggressive speed creates massive regulatory bottleneck. That is exactly friction I will eliminate. And I'm interested in exploring if my operational framework align with your immediate Q3 goals. Listen to the language in that pivot. You didn't say, I really want to work here. You said, I'm interested in exploring if my frameworks align with your goal. You have instantly established a high-level consultation. You are a peer. Phase 3, the diagnostic approach, controlling the narrative. As the interview progresses, they will inevitably launch behavioral questions at you. Tell me about yourself, or tell me about a time you failed, or how do you handle severe team conflict. The standard university career center advice is to use the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. It is an okay baseline, but it's outdated, widely expected, and frankly a bit elementary for a senior role. To leave an indelible mark in the mind of the hiring manager, you must upgrade to a diagnostic framework. When an interviewer asks about a failure, they're not trying to embarrass you. They are testing your emotional regulation and your structural thinking. Never give them a fake, manufactured weakness like, I am just too much of a perfectionist, or I care too much about my work. It insults their intelligence and flags you as inauthentic. Instead, Give them a clinical architectural breakdown of past failures. Remove the emotions and treat it like a case study. Here is what a diagnostic answer looked like. 2 years ago, I completely miscalculated the integration timeline for a new enterprise software rollout. I treated it strictly as an IT deployment when it was actually a human behavior project. Because of that, initial adoption failed miserably. The diagnostic takeaway was that I had not established ground level advocacy before launch. I paused the rollout, built the deployment protocol, implemented a peer to peer training model, and relaunched it in 60 days later. We hit the 94% adoption rate within 3 weeks. It was a painful mistake, but it fundamentally rewired how I approach the change management. You took absolute ownership. You removed the defensiveness, you diagnosed the structural flaw, and you proved that your failure results in upgraded, highly resilient operating system. You did not just survive a failure, you engineered a solution out of it. Phase 4, reversing the interrogation. High level, high leverage questions. About 45 minutes into the meeting, the interviewer will close their note, lean back and say, well, we have asked a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for us? This is a trap. If you say no, I think you covered everything. Or if you ask about standard working hours, vacation days, or generic company culture, you instantly destroys your authority. We have reverted back to a subordinate looking for an employee benefit. This is your moment to prove that you are a strategic asset. You must ask the question that makes the interviewer sit up, lean forward, and realize you are thinking 3 levels above the standard job description. You must ask high leverage questions that flip the dynamics. 1. The bottleneck pro. Looking at the strategic roadmap for this specific role over the next 6 to 12 months, what is the single biggest internal bottleneck or legacy system that could prevent this person from being wildly successful? This forces them to admit their company's internal flaws to you, placing you in a position of diagnostician. 2. The definition of excellence. If we agree to move forward and I'm sitting in this exact chair 1 year from today for my annual performance review, what specific measurable outcome must I have delivered for you to consider this an elite, game-changing hire? This forcing the hiring manager to psychologically visualize you already succeeding in the role. 3. The cultural reality check. Every organization has a gap between the culture they promote on their website and the culture they practice in trenches during a crisis. What is one area where this team is currently working with that gap? This is a highly assertive, peer-level question that demands respect and honesty. When you ask these 3 questions, the interview stops being an interrogation and becomes a boardroom strategy session. Phase 5, the indelible exit, the certainty close. The interview is over. Do not ruin a brilliant, dominant positioning with a weak, fawning, desperate exit. Do not stand up, bow your head, and say, thank you very much for this amazing opportunity. I really hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day. You must execute the certainty close. You stand up slowly and deliberately. You look the primary decision maker directly in the eye and you offer a measured handshake. You say this, John, I appreciate the transparency today. It is very clear you are tackling some complex scaling issues with the upcoming Q3 launch. Based on everything we have discussed, I am highly confident that my frameworks can neutralize that friction and accelerate your timeline. I look forward to the next steps in exploring this partnership. You are calm. You are assured. You use the word partnership, not employment. You do not ask for a timeline. You assume the next step. You leave the room with the exact same dignified, unhurried pacing with which you entered it. You leave them feeling absolute certainty in your presence. Phase 6, the post-interview protocol, the dignified follow-up. Now you go, adrenaline drops, the waiting game begins. This is exactly where amateurs lose their nerve. They send it from their car in the parking lot and then follow up every 3 days asking HR for a status update. We do not beg. We architect. 24-hour synthesis doc. Exactly 24 hours after the interview, you send one singular email to the hiring manager. It is not a generic thank you now. It is a synthesis document. Subject line. Following up. Strategic alignment on insert core pain point discussed. The body. Hi, interviewer name. I appreciated our deep dive yesterday into the team's upcoming challenges with a specific project integration. After processing your conversation regarding the bottleneck in specific area, I mapped out a brief, high-level structured approach on how I would tackle that exact issue in my first 30 days. I have attached a one-page PDF summary here simply for your reference and you evaluate your next steps. I remain highly interested in driving this forward. Enjoy the rest of your week. Best, your name. You are proving that you actually listened to their problem. You are proving that you went home and immediately start working on a solution. You are delivering massive unprompted value without asking for a single thing in return. Just silence. After you hit send on that email, you go completely silent. You do not check it on Friday. You do not call HR. You let your value speak for itself. You maintain your dignity. If they are an elite organization that recognizes high tier talent, they will move mountains to get you an offer. If they ghost you, or if they drag the process out 6 weeks without communication, they have failed your evaluation. They have proven that their internal infrastructure is chaotic and you gracefully walked away, knowing you dodge toxic environment. You never chase, you attract. Look at, you are not a commodity. Your time, your intellect, engineering mindset, and your hard-earned experience are premium corporate assets. Stop walking into a corporate offices, acting like lucky to be there. They are lucky to have you targeted capability solving their multi-million dollar problem. The moment you truly believe that the moment you internalize the architecture of peer-to-peer authority, you will never struggle in an interview again. You will stop searching for jobs and you will start commanding opportunities. If you are ready, completely rewire your professional mindset. If you are ready to stop leaving your career to chance and start engineering it with precision, the ultimate blueprint is finally here. I'm incredibly proud to announce for the record that my new book, The 2026 Career Architect, is officially live and available for download today on namaste.ai. This book is a culmination of everything we discuss on this channel: advanced AI workflows, psychological negotiation tactics, and exact step-by-step systems to dominate the modern global job market. You can download your copy right now and begin building your leverage immediately. Master the room, command your value, process the blip, execute the strategy, and I'll see you at the top.